Good evening. My name is John Frungen. I'm Executive Director of the William J. Hughes Center for Public Policy here at Stockton University, and we are very happy that all of you are here. Thank you for your support. We're going to get started in a moment. First, I want to introduce Kim Shallick-Downs, who is President and CEO of Salmon Ventures and is the Vice Chair of the Hughes Center Advisory Board. Kim has done so much work to make this event a success. We appreciate it so much. And our chair of the advisory board, Mr. Rich Tolson, also worked tirelessly to support this cause. And Rich Tolson is our master of ceremonies for the night. Rich, the microphone is yours. No, one moment. Before we start the awards, we're going to hear from our new president of Stockton, Dr. Joe Bertolino, with some welcoming remarks. Dr. Bertolino.
Oh my. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Bertolino. I'm the new president of Stockton. I am delighted to be here, and I am delighted to be at my first Hughes Center Honors. We can applaud that. Thanks. I also just wanted to, John, thank you very, very much for your amazing work. If you haven't heard, John has advised us of his intent to retire, which is ridiculous, but we're going to let him do his thing and enjoy, but I really think, I just wanted to pause for a moment to say thank you to John for your amazing work throughout the years. Thank you very, very much. I also wanted to thank all of our elected officials who are here tonight. I know for many of you, you are relieved that Election Day is over. So you can assume Stockton will be in touch. Secondly, my thanks to all of our wonderful trustees of the university and also all of our supporters from the foundation. So thank you very much for your commitment and all of the work you do. So as I have taken some time to learn about the Hughes Center, as many of you already know, the center's mission is to encourage civic engagement as a natural extension of Stockton's mission of developing students to be engaged and effective citizens and active participants in democracy. And today, probably more than at any other time, that's important. That engagement is important. That civic responsibility is important. The opportunity to sit and engage in dialogue and debate in a constructive and civil manner is important. And so at Stockton, we take pride in working hand in hand with the center to ensure that our students are prepared for life beyond the university and to be good citizens. Inspired by the values embodied by the late Ambassador and Congressman William J. Hughes, and I had the opportunity to meet his family earlier today. As I understand it, Congressman Hughes, if you have not been through the center, you will see a great deal about his legacy. And he passionately advocated for an informed and engaged citizenry. The center conducts research to provide better understanding of complex policy issues. It engages the Stockton community and the greater public through programming that includes panel discussions, election candidate debates, speaker events, and political commentary. Also, the center gives voice to the people of South Jersey and all of the state through the Stockton Polling Institute. Our students, our community, learn a great deal and benefit a great deal from the center. And I am certain that Bill Hughes would be proud of the work that is being done in his name. Mentioned in the news media on an average of, well, at least once a day, the Hughes Center has created new learning opportunities for our students, particularly through internships and podcasting and support for research. This evening's program recognizes New Jersey leaders whose professional excellence and commitment to public service, civility, and bipartisanship reflect the ideals and career of Ambassador Hughes. And tonight, these honorees include philanthropists, public servants, labor leaders, and champions of democracy. We thank you, our honorees this evening, for your dedication to public service and your commitment to community leadership. But more importantly, as president of the university, I want to thank you for being good role models and mentors to our students, because they will learn from your actions and the legacy that you have left. So thank you very much for being here this evening. Thank you very much to Rich Tolson, a lifelong friend of the Hughes family and chair of the Hughes Center Advisory Board, and to the board itself. And I'm going to turn the program over to you, sir. Thank you very, very much. Welcome to Stockton.
You know, a wise man would come up and say what he said and sit down and let everybody move along, but you're not going to be that lucky. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here tonight and supporting our efforts through the William J. Hughes Center for Public Policy. I, as I always do, begin tonight with my standard disclaimer. I will refer to Mr. and Mrs. Hughes, as such, because the relationship with the Hughes and Tolson family dates back 63 years. I mention this so no one thinks I'm being disrespectful for not using congressman or ambassador. I first want to acknowledge the members of the Hughes family that are here with us tonight. And it's by no small coincidence that this is being held on November 9th. My father would have been 109 today, but my dear friend and the oldest Hughes sibling is celebrating her 29th birthday today. So happy birthday, Lynn. Her husband, Doug Walker, is here, and their daughter, Maddie, is here. Her sister, Barbara, and Tama, and Bill Jr. are here as well, and we're very happy to have you with us here tonight on this special night. I want to thank President Joe, Dan Nugent of the Foundation, all of our faculty board members for such significant support of the Hughes Center. I'd like to ask any members of the board that are here to please stand and be recognized. I know it's uncomfortable, but please stand up and be recognized. Your contributions to our efforts are invaluable. I would especially like to recognize our Vice Chair, Kim Shalwick Downs. I couldn't ask for a better partner. Thank you so much, Kim. And I have to recognize my bride, Sonia Bertini, who consistently supports me in these efforts, as well as corrects all of my grammar. And finally, to John and, where'd he go? Oh, Regina, Alyssa, Daria, and Kyle, the staff at the center. Without your steadfast efforts, none of this would be possible. Thank you. As President Joe alluded to, there's many elected officials here tonight that I'm sure are glad of being out of the public limelight, so I'm not going to recognize any of you because I don't want to miss anyone. Truthfully, that's the case. But thank you so much. Your commitment to civility in government and civil discourse is recognized by your attendance here tonight. Thank you so much. Since this past January, I have had the honor of being the chairman of the Hughes Center Board, following in the footsteps of Dr. Ed Salmon, whose leadership set a high standard to follow. I am committed to maintaining the principles of the center, which were the core elements of Mr. Hughes throughout his lifetime. A commitment to civil discourse, a commitment to civility in government, regardless of party affiliation, a commitment to hearing all sides of a debate to get to the best conclusion for everyone involved. You see, Mr. Hughes wasn't about fanfare or press clippings or even the awards we give in his name tonight. He was about the work that benefited the people he represented. In the coming year, our board hopes to embark on programs that help to reestablish these principles in discourse, in elections, and in government. I believe by those we are recognizing this evening, we have laid a good foundation to that process. So with that, let's get to it. Tonight's first recipient will be our Distinctive Student Leadership Award, and to do this for the first time at the Hughes Center Awards, we have selected the President of the Student Senate and a student representative of our board to present the award to his classmate. So Timothy Knoll will come forward, please.
At each Hughes Center program, the center recognizes a student for distinctive leadership and civic engagement. This year's recipient is Emily Kramer. Emily recently graduated with a dual degree in political science and languages and culture sciences with a 4.0 GPA. Between January and May of 2022, Emily held a research internship with the Hughes Center. She published on changes in racial and ethnic diversity in New Jersey from 2000 to 2020, receiving media attention from New Jersey 1015 and the Philly Voice. She also served as the intern for the Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center during the summer of 2022, where she conducted research about elections at the state level. She also presented workshops on ranked choice voting to the public and coordinated the organization's social media and public relations strategy. Emily served as president of Amnesty International on campus, where she collaborated with the community-based chapter in Atlantic County to bring Amnesty USA directors to campus for an in-person community event. Emily represented Stockton University at National Model UN conferences in Japan, Washington, D.C., and New York, where she was recognized for multiple individual Best Position Paper awards. Emily is from Burlington County, New Jersey, and is seeking a career in human rights. She is this year's recipient of the Distinctive Student Leadership Award. Emily?
Thank you, Timothy, for your kind introduction, and good evening. I want to first thank the Hughes Center Steering Committee for granting me such a prestigious award, with which I'm endlessly grateful for. I would also like to thank my parents, both of whom I would definitely not be the woman standing here today without. I remember when I first came to Stockton, my mom had written me a note that said, "Good luck this year, have fun, and don't stress yourself out too much." As many middle-of-the-night phone calls to my wonderful mom and dad can attest to, I may have missed the mark a little bit on her last point. Regardless, I hung that note up on my dorm room wall every year while I was at Stockton, and I stuck to those words. I truly did have so much fun at Stockton, and I discovered passions that I didn't even know that I had. The biggest passion I discovered were for leadership and activism. The community at Stockton sowed the seeds for these passions. The professors, students, and faculty created such a unique opportunity for students like me to grow. I want to especially thank Dr. Frugin, who I had the pleasure of working with in the 2022 spring semester as a Hughes Center Public Policy intern. I want to also thank Dr. Tina Zappilli, the faculty advisor for Stockton Model United Nations, who I traveled to Japan with last year, an experience that I will carry with me forever. And finally, I want to thank Dr. Velasco, who helped me to revive the Stockton chapter of Amnesty International and who shaped me into the activist that I am today. She encouraged me to persevere when it was the last thing I wanted to do. Last year, I applied to a fellowship at Amnesty International, and I made it to the second round of interviews. I felt like the interviews had gone well, and the position seemed perfectly tailored to me and my skills. The rejection letter I received a week later made me question everything. I was so disappointed and frustrated, and I was ready to give up Amnesty International and my future in activism entirely. With the encouragement of Dr. Belasco and my parents, I transferred that disappointment into action, and in the following semester, I found myself in a room full of peers introducing the Executive Director of Amnesty International USA, Paul O'Brien, here at Stockton. Now, I wake up every morning with my new job at Amnesty International as the Urgent Action Network Coordinator, working to free political prisoners and prisoners of conscience from around the world. And I have frequent staff meetings with the very same Paul O'Brien who said his experience at Stockton was the highlight of his 2022. On the weekends, I work with my community as an advocacy court organizer with the Friends Committee on National Legislation to build cohorts of constituents who join me in meetings with our legislators, urging them to invest in community violence intervention programs and anti-gun violence measures. Without my experience at Stockton, I would have not built the confidence nor the skills to pursue a career in activism and public service, which I plan to continue pursuing for the rest of my life. Thank you again to everyone involved in planning and coordinating this wonderful event and for choosing me to be the recipient of such an incredible honor. Thank you.
Emily, your parents are here. Could your parents please stand and be recognized? Well done. I get it. I'm honored to be able to present the next award tonight, the Excellence in Community Leadership Award. My dear friend and the president of the New Jersey State Building and Construction Trades, Bill Mullen, has been president of the New Jersey Building and Construction Trades Council, representing 150,000 members in 15 international building trades unions and 13 county councils. My brother Bill joined the Iron Workers Local 11 in 1968, following a 2-year stint with the United States Army in Korea. He was elected vice president of the more than 500-member Iron Workers Local 11 in 1981 and served in that capacity through 1990 when he was elected president. In 1993, he was elected business manager, the union's highest position, until his retirement in May of 2008. Mullen is currently a trustee at Montclair State University, a member of the New Jersey State Building Authority, and of the board of the New Jersey Casino Reinvestment Development Authority, where I had the privilege of serving on with. On a personal level, Bill has always been an advocate for working people throughout the state of New Jersey. He is a veteran, a trade unionist, and at the highest level, a true and loyal friend. It is my honor to present Bill Mullins with the Excellence in Community Leadership Award.
Get out from behind the podium? Okay, yes. All right, Don. I know Don a long time. Thank you, Rich. I'll take Rich on the road with me. He has nice things to say. There's a lot of people that don't, but thank you very much. I'd like to express, and I'm going to keep this very short. Kevin O'Toole and I have a little contest. I'd like to express my gratitude to the William J. Hughes Center for Public Policy and honoring the New Jersey State Building Trades for this prestigious award. I'm only the face of the 150,000 dedicated men and women who work tirelessly to contribute to and construct and develop our state. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the other outstanding representatives, recipients for this distinguished award tonight. We gather today to not only honor, but also to remember and celebrate the legacy of Congressman William J. Hughes. He was not just a statesman, but he was a true champion for Southern New Jersey and the entire state. His strong voice resonated in the halls of public policy, advocating for the interests and welfare of all citizens. But beyond that, he was an advocate for public discourse and civic engagement. He often reminded us, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're the menu. And Congressman Hughes made sure that South Jersey had a seat at that table, ensuring everyone's voice was heard and concerns addressed. Congressman Hughes left an indelible mark on our environment by enacting laws that preserved our oceans. His policies included banning the dumping of sewerage sludge. It doesn't seem that long ago. I don't know, does anybody know how long ago that went into effect? There's got to be somebody here. But back in the 70s, and when you think about it, they sent these barges out and dumped this sludge out in the middle of the ocean. I mean, it's just incredible. Thereby preventing the contaminations of our precious ocean waters. So once again, I'd like to extend my profound gratitude to the trustees of the Hughes Center for their wisdom in recognizing the contributions of our 150,000 members in their mission to build and uplift New Jersey. I'm deeply honored to stand here as their representative face, and I salute each and every one of them for their commitment to their craft and the betterment of our state. In closing, I'd like to commend the Hughes Center trustees for upholding the principles of integrity by not being influenced by politicians and politics. Your dedication to the noble cause of public policy is truly commendable and is a beacon of hope for all of us who believe in the power and principles of decision-making. So once again, on behalf of our 150,000 members throughout the state, it's an honor to accept this award for all our people. Thank you very much.
Next award, I'm also privileged to give to another union brother and a longtime state legislator. Our Civility in Government and Politics Award goes this year to Tom Giblin. Tom has served in the New Jersey State Assembly and is business manager for Local 68 of the International Union of Operating Engineers. Tom was elected to the Assembly from Legislative District 34 in 2006 and has been the Deputy Majority Leader since 2008. Previously, he served on the Essex County Board of Freeholders, now Commissioners, in the 1980s and 90s, and was Essex County Surrogate from 90 to 93. Tom has served as Democratic State Committee Chair from 97 to 2001. A graduate of Seton Hall Preparatory School and Seton Hall University, Mr. Giblin served in the New Jersey Air National Guard from 66 to 72, achieving the rank of Staff Sergeant. He has announced that he will be retiring after this legislative session. He has been a stalwart and a lifetime of service to this state. And when I did serve on the CRDA, Tom was influential in opening up in the city of Atlantic City a training center for the members of Local 68 operating engineers, something that we need more of, investment in the city. So with that, my dear friend, Tom Giblin, Civility in Government and Politics Award.
Looking out at the audience, Richard J. Hughes lives. I had the good fortune to know the congressman and the ambassador during my tenure as the New Jersey Democratic State Chairman going back 25 plus years ago. He was a people's person and enjoyed a great deal of respect and admiration from his constituents on both sides of the aisle in his district and the greater Atlantic County and South Jersey area. And I'm glad to see this tribute being carried on under the stewardship of Rich Tolson, who has a long career in the labor movement. It's very important, about developing a new crop of leaders in our midst. It's no time for the faint of heart, whether it be on the national level, the state level, or the local level. We see a myriad of problems that are taking place, and it will take smart, intelligent leadership to kind of bring us together. It's easy to divide people. The real challenge is trying to get people to work in one direction and what's best for the entire community. I've spent my life in the labor movement, following in the footsteps of my father, who came here as an immigrant from Ireland. I've been affiliated with Local 68 since I'm 17, and you might notice that's a few summers ago. But seriously, we've had a great deal of commitment to Atlantic City. Right now, as was mentioned by Rich Tolson, we recently erected a new facility, a training facility in our administrative offices on Pacific Avenue. We have an excess of over 1,200 members working in the gaming industry. It's been a good employer, created a lot of job opportunities, and it's essential that both sides, management and union, work together what's best to keep it strong and to continue those opportunities for the next generation of workers in New Jersey, especially South Jersey, because this is truly the economic engine that makes this happen in this part of the state. So to your leadership of the William J. Hughes Institute, Rich Tolson, Ed Salmon, I've put a lot of time in different capacities, serving in the Assembly for 18 years as a freeholder, for 10 years as surrogate, for 4 years, 9 years as County Democratic Chairman, 4 years as the State Democratic Chairman, 3 years as the New Jersey State Real Estate Commissioner. I forgot some of these jobs, but seriously, it's been a pleasure, and I always tried to put my best foot forth, and you can count on my continued support. Stockton College has really evolved in terms of stature and is viewed as one of the premier universities in the state, and your Lloyd Levinson School of Gaming is a critical part of that. You're doing many positive things. All I can say is keep up the good work, and you can rely on me for my continued support and that of Local 68 and the labor movement. Thank you. Okay,
Get a picture here.
yeah, okay. Jar.
At this time, I'd like to call up Tim Lowry from the Stockton University Board of Trustees to present our next award.
nervous. Chairman's nervous. Aren't you nervous? You should be. You should be. Good evening, everyone. Tim Lowry. I serve on the Board of Trustees here at Stockton, but I'm here tonight to introduce our next award recipient. An absolute force in New Jersey politics for 35 years, some have called him an impassioned orator, a ruthlessly intelligent operator, trailblazer, political maverick, and the individual who always seems to find himself in the room where it all happens. Acutely self-aware, with a deep respect for our systems of government and individual liberties. Kevin O'Toole is the consummate servant leader. He has held many titles throughout his career: staffer, mayor, assemblyman, senator, governor, whisperer, and now chairman of the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. A Republican, the chairman is known for his bipartisanship, a quality few politicians possess these days, and that same quality for which the late Congressman Hughes was well known in Washington, D.C. But what few may know about my friend is that he is the son of a North Korean war refugee. His mother, born in a small village, she was one of 9 children who grew up in abject poverty. Kevin's mom witnessed the horrific kidnapping and torture of her siblings and others, villainous acts which precipitated her fleeing across the border to nearby South Korea, where she only to find a job washing the clothes of South Korean soldiers to make a living. She fell in love with Kevin's father, Sergeant O'Toole, an Army soldier, and they eventually moved to the United States, intending first to reside at Fort Benning, Georgia, only for the commanding officer to advise against that location. Why? Georgia did not recognize interracial marriages in 1957. The O'Tooles eventually found their home in Cedar Grove, where Kevin grew up, has spent much of his adult life, and where he has raised a beautiful family of his own. When one's mother faces unspeakable crimes in one country, only then to face such profound prejudice in another, we can appreciate why Chairman O'Toole chose a career as a lawyer, politician, and a policymaker. But that career path comes at a cost. Kevin has been called every derogative name ever said in politics. Having witnessed the ugly side of hate speech, intimidation, and threats of physical violence, Chairman O'Toole has remained resolute, unflappable, measured, and a clear example for the next generation of leaders to follow. Apart from his highly successful career in law and in business, he is also a frequent author and speaker on the need for civility and integrity in politics. One of his recurring quotes, "Be a gracious winner," something Senator Gormley, who's here tonight, would emphasize. In other words, show respect to those who have tried and lost. Another quote you'll read in Kevin's works is from the late political power broker, Steve Adubato Sr., who said, and I'll paraphrase, "In the end, we may be Italian, Irish, Korean, Black, white, or Hispanic, but we are Americans first." Kevin believes that. Growing up in a biracial family and having faced much adversity throughout his years, Kevin has not lost focus on the need for meaningful debate on the tough issues, as long as they are grounded in accountability, decorum, and civility. Very few are as deserving of this award for civility in government and politics as Kevin O'Toole. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce him now. So without further ado, my friend, please welcome Chairman Kevin O'Toole. Okay.
Well, after Tim said it, I guess I got nothing to say, Tim. Thank you very much. So you ever feel like you walk into a room and you don't belong in that room? I've felt that my entire life. I feel that today. And I shouldn't be here today. And Tim, you say those things and I feel like it's somebody's life you're talking about. It's not mine. You know, so today we come to honor the real giants, John Scarpa. We honor you today. You've set an example for the rest of us. Tom Giblin I've known for too many decades. And I will tell you, I've served with thousands of legislators. And there's nobody better, nobody smarter, nobody brighter than Tom Giblin. Nobody. Bill Mullen, he's a role model for all things labor. Anytime when I was in the legislature I had a question, pick up the phone, you call Bill. Didn't care if you're Republican, Democrat, white, brown, didn't matter. Bill would have the answer. Judge, you are the best. Is your son looking down at you right now? Is Danny looking down at you right now? She sets the gold standard. Emily, I don't know you, but your speech was great, and your parents are very proud of you. And you're a future leader. So, you know, I was getting this award. I called my friend Joe Giangoli. I said, Joe, what the hell is this? He said, listen. He said, son. He said, Richard J. Hughes, one of the greatest governors and statesmen in our time. He told me about the history that Joe lived. Joe's a little older than I am. And he said, this is a guy who served 2 terms, very difficult time. When he got off his governorship, his successor, a Republican opposite, appointed him as a Chief Justice. What a cool moment. We don't have that civility anymore. We just don't. I saw Joe Carrillo. I don't know if Joe's here. Joe was one of the fine state senators who understood this thing called civility. You know, Tim, I appreciated that walk down memory lane. You talk about what it takes to be a gracious winner. And sometimes when you go through those tough campaigns, it's hard to be a gracious winner. So it was 2007. I went through a really difficult primary. I had a couple of folks, and it was the Tea Party running against me. My fight was always with the right of the party that hated me. So we went through this campaign, brutal campaign. And they, you know, they called me the Al Sharpton of my party, and they said, talked about I had a jaundiced look about me and my family and this and that. So it was a brutal, brutal fight. And we won. I'll never forget June 5th, 2007. And we scored an upset. And I got there, and my mother was shaking. I said, Mom, I said, we did this for you, Mom. I said, it was her birthday. I go, we couldn't have had a better birthday for you, Mom. My mom comes from another country. Democracy wasn't welcome. She taught me at a young age. And she had 0 education, smartest person I ever met. Said 2 things. You got to get along. They're not going to love you. They're not. Job 1, get along with people. Job 2, just figure it out. Whatever that problem is, figure it out. I come with 6 brothers and sisters. It wasn't always easy to figure it out, but you tried. Serving in the legislature was not always an easy thing to do. Sometimes you had to do the political thing. Sometimes it's hard to do the right thing. And Bill Gormley told me in that time, he goes, Kevin, you just got to work it out and work with the opposite party. And in 2007, after that victory, he calls me up late that night. He goes, Kevin, I know you're really pissed off. I said, I am. He said, I know you're really angry with what they said about you and your mom and everything else. I said, yeah, I am. Bill said to me, Kevin, do something I haven't always done. He goes, be a gracious winner. Be a gracious winner. And I try. And here's what I tell the people today, because the world's on fire. D.C. is crazy. Trenton is crazy. We reward people for fighting with one another. As opposed to giving awards like this, which we should be doing, and leading by example, and bringing everyone together, we reward the extremists and the crazies, the fighters. We can't do that anymore. There's nothing getting done. And we have to say to our leaders, 2 things. Get along, figure it out. We need to demand that from our folks. You ask Tom Giblin how you figure it out over 40 years or 50 years of public service. You figure it out. So when I tell you in all humility, this is not my life that I'm hearing. I don't belong to be on the stage. I am honored. I'm not here for me. I'm here for my mother and the folks that she came from back in 1957. Now you think about what she had to do to get to this place called America, what she left behind. My mother was a county committee person, and the proudest day when she got her green card, and they got sworn in and had her citizenship. And she goes, this is my country now. And she talks about when she sailed in and she saw the Statue of Liberty the first time. And every time we took her to the Statue of Liberty, she was just overcome by emotion. She goes, this is our country. She goes, Let's get along. Let's figure it out. So on behalf of my mother, behalf of my family, I'm honored to have this award. I don't belong. Let's salute the future generation. Let's ask them, let's demand of them that we get along, that we figure it out. Thank you.
To present our next award, Excellence in Civic Engagement, I'll ask Craig Carpenito, former U.S. Attorney and a partner in King & Spalding's Special Matters and Government Investigations practice, to come forward and present it, please.
Esther Salas, the Honorable Esther Salas. You know, what do we say about this woman at this point? I've known Esther now for over 20 years. Like Kevin, she comes from very humble beginnings. Esther, at a very early age, has dealt with tragedy and found strength in tragedy. When Esther was young, she was the daughter of a single mom and had to take care of her siblings, which is a theme you'll see throughout Esther's life. They lost their house to a fire. And Esther walked out, and I'll never forget the first time I heard the story, with one shoe, right? But found the strength to get up off her knees and help her siblings along, take care of her mother, who was incredibly strong, and went through life acting as her mother's guide and her translator. I've heard many stories about Esther observing the injustice in this country that her mother had to go through because English wasn't her first language, and the way she was treated because she was a minority in this country at a point where it wasn't as in vogue as it is today. This woman inspired her daughter to go to law school. And not only did she become a lawyer, but she committed her life to making sure that no one had to go through the things that her mother and her siblings went through before her. I met Esther over 20 years ago when she was a federal public defender, and I was an assistant United States attorney in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Newark under Governor Christie. And for those of you who don't know, AUSAs and assistant federal defenders do not always see eye to eye. They are not always as civil to people as we should expect. And Esther and I formed a bond on, I would say, the battlefield, but we all know in reality the battlefield for lawyers is usually a conference room. Esther taught me the most important lessons that any prosecutor should learn. What she taught me was, we're not prosecuting criminals, we're not prosecuting crimes, we're prosecuting people. And all people need to be evaluated as individuals. And you have to take everything into effect and think about why it is that they're there, what it is that happened. Now, I taught Esther that a few of those people were pretty bad people. But Esther taught me that this wasn't the Department of Prosecutions, Persecutions, or Punishments. It was the Department of Justice, and justice is best meted out by factoring in the need to hold people accountable with the need for mercy, right? And helping people recognize why it is that they got where they are, and taking into effect the fact that people can be truly sorry for what they do, and they can really repent and make up for it. It's no surprise to any of us that knew her at the time that she was picked to be the first Hispanic magistrate judge in the state, and then eventually the first Hispanic district judge in the state, female district judge in the state. And she shone on the bench. She just shined. Years later, I found my way back to Esther professionally. We were always friends in between. And in that span in between, I got not to just know Esther, but I got to know her amazing son, Danny. I actually really got to know her son, Danny, and what an incredible boy he was. And a lot of the qualities that Esther had came through in Danny. What I always tell people about Danny is, at 20 years old, Danny still had a wonderment in his eyes that we all miss in our toddlers, in our children. Everything that Danny experienced, it was like he experienced for the first time, whether it was a bite of food or, you know, a movie he saw or a debate that we had about what was going on in the world. The excitement in his eyes was unbelievable, and it was familiar to me. It was the same excitement I always saw in your eyes. And Esther is very spiritual, and she's convinced me that years later we were brought together again professionally because, unfortunately, we both had to see an incredibly tragic day when Esther was the victim of an assault, basically because she is the amazing woman she is and because she triumphed over all of those difficulties we talked about and rose up to become a Latina jurist. And someone whose name I will never say, with hate in their heart, came and took Danny from us. And most people would fall to their knees never to rise again. But just like you did as a little girl, after you lost your home, you found the strength, not just to stand up, but you honor Danny every day in the sacrifice that he made to protect you and to protect Mark by swearing that she was never going to let another family feel what she had to feel. She was never going to let another judge be attacked. She was never going to let anyone lose someone they love. And Esther has, as she always does, followed through on that promise. And because of Esther's incredible work, we have 2 pieces of legislation that is intended to protect judges, both in Danny's name. A state legislation signed here in New Jersey, which, by the way, one of the many accomplishments that not many people know about of Senator O'Toole, is only named after Danny because he picked up the phone and brought a lot of people to their senses and said, there's no reason why we can't put legislation in an individual's name, especially under circumstances like this, where Danny deserves to be honored and recognized. And for all of you that know Kevin, it doesn't surprise you that he's never said a word about that story. No one knows it, and he didn't look for any credit. What he cared about was that Danny was honored. We also have federal legislation that was signed by President Biden in Danny's name after what I will tell you was some of the most vigorous advocacy I've ever seen by Esther to make sure that that legislation got signed, despite the fact that it was attacked by parties I would have never dreamed would ever stand against legislation like this, like the ACLU. She was relentless and would not give up. But the best part about Esther is that it's only just begun, because the thing that she's going to do for the rest of her career, for the rest of her life, I know is going to dwarf everything that you've already done in the past. So with that, I'd like to welcome my friend Esther Salas up to see you.
So good evening, everyone. I want to start by thanking Stockton University's president, Dr. Joseph Bertolino, Dr. Joe as they call him, our master of ceremonies, and of course our chair, Rich Tolson, co-chair Kim Shalik Downs, and the Hughes Center executive director, Don Frigian, and all of the board responsible for bestowing this tremendous honor on me. I'm privileged to be part of this year's Hughes Center Honors, part of Stockton University. I feel like I'm an honorary member right now. And I want to congratulate all the recipients this evening. Well-deserved recognition. And, you know, I just loved sitting out in the audience and hearing each of you talk. And a theme has been coming in my head, and I want to talk about that. But I do want to thank Craig for agreeing to present this award to me this evening. Try not to cry. Craig, I know how busy you are with work and your girls, Madison and Leighton, and just how hard it is for you to juggle sometimes life, but you always manage to come through for me and Danny. And so I thank you. And yes, our friendship has spanned 2 decades, and we've weathered unimaginable storms, and you have shown me what it is like to have a true friend, and unyielding support, especially that night at the hospital, and you haven't left my side. And so I just love you, and I thank you so much, my friend. So as Craig mentioned, my only child, Daniel, was murdered on a Sunday, July 19, 2020, by a disgruntled lawyer who was very angry with me because I was taking too long on a motion. But truth be told, he hated me, as Craig said, the day I was born. He hated that I am a woman, and he hated that I am Latina, and that I had the audacity to rise up the ranks to become a United States District Judge. He hated me. And so with hate in his heart that day, after he had already killed one man, he came to our home, he rang our doorbell, and he took the life of my only child, and almost took the life of my husband. And, you know, a lot of people say, you know, how do you survive something like that? And I say, because I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have been his mother. And I'm blessed to have my husband. You see, the FBI, when they debriefed us, no one knows exactly what Danny said to this guy, but we know he fell back with his arms in a cross position, which means he blocked the doorway. And he took one bullet to his chest. And then my husband, who was right behind him, tried to get at him. And the guy just kept shooting my husband. One shot after another shot after another shot. 3 bullets pierced 5 different parts of my husband's body. And he fought for his life. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. So yes, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have the partner of 30 years that's standing with me as we work towards trying to turn a tragedy into something beautiful. And so because of my son's bravery and his courage, that man's plans were foiled. An act of love, that's what I always call it, an act of love. And for me, in the days following my son, you know, when I was told he didn't make it, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't want to live. I didn't. And I remember I got admitted because I fainted, and they just couldn't let me, you know, they didn't want to let me go home that day. And so I was in a catatonic state, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, as they would roll me up to see how my husband was doing in ICU. But on Wednesday, I felt a gentle nudge from above. And I felt my God saying, it's time to wake up. I've let you sleep long enough. And so that was the day that I sat up in that hospital bed and I decided that I was going to find the strength and I was going to find the will to go on. And about a week later, Craig knows because he got the call, I started saying, I got to do something. I'm going to have a press conference. And the marshals were like, you're not going to have a press conference. We don't even know if somebody else is out there. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to have a press conference. You're either with me or you're against me. And that's when they called Craig Carpenato and said, you got to control her. And so Craig did what Craig does and convinced me to do a YouTube video. And that is when I asked our political leaders to do something to protect my brothers and sisters on the bench. And what people don't know is that day of the video, the suit I'm wearing, that was the day I had to temporarily intern my son. So I shot that video in the morning, and then I went to the mausoleum after I visited Mark in the ICU. We are capable of so much more than we realize as men and women. And as the ambassador would say, together we can do so much more when we learn to love each other, when we learn to work together, when we learn how to treat one another. I'm so honored to be part of Ambassador Hughes' legacy. And tonight, the theme that we're hearing is about how we treat each other. Judges are being killed. We just saw another judge in Maryland die, killed at his home for doing his job. And there, in that home, is a grieving wife and 2 small children. Why? Because we can't agree to disagree. We can't agree to appeal a case if a judge rules against you. We have lost civility. We have lost common sense. And we have lost the ability to love one another for who we are. So the theme tonight for me, as we honor William J. Hughes, as we honor his legacy, is that words matter, people matter, and how we treat this great earth, it matters. Much remains to be done to protect judges from all across, from this country and beyond. And I don't know, I often wonder, why was it not me? But I'll tell you what, I'm gonna die trying to find out what my meaningful purpose is in this world. And I know on behalf of Daniel that it will be to make this place just a little better place to live, and judges more secure, and our democracy sound. That's my meaningful purpose today. And so with that, I just want to say how grateful I am, again, to everyone involved in tonight's ceremony, how grateful I am to be an American, how grateful I am to be Danny's mom. Thank you so much.
First time I met the judge here at Stockton, I went home and told Sonia that the judge's hope for humanity in light of such tragedy is contagious. And I think everybody in the room here tonight can attest to that. Before we move on to our Distinguished Lifetime Achievement Award, a few years back before his passing, our namesake, our ambassador, our congressman, our father, our grandfather, Mr. Hughes, received this award. So what I would like to ask Bill Jr. to please come up and share a few words on behalf of the family.
Good evening. I'm here tonight with my sisters Lynn, Barbara, and Tama, and I know that if my father were here tonight, he would like to let you know just how old my sister Lynn is. but I'm not going to do that. Thank you. We want to thank you, all of the honorees, for what you have done, for what you will do, for the example that you have set, for living the ideals that my father sought to achieve and sought to demonstrate every single day. This is his legacy, and thank you so much for living it. And to our guests this evening, the only way the Hughes Center survives is through your generous support. And this instills in our next generations the principles of leadership, of civility, of public engagement, of honoring our institutions by supporting them and making meaningful change to our lives through democracy and civil interaction. So thank you so much on behalf of the entire Hughes family.
Now for a special treat. Before we bring up our recipient, we will share his achievements through a short video that I hope our very capable IT folks. We good? Let it roll.
Growing up in Vineland, New Jersey in the 1940s and 50s, John F. Scarpa was a bright and inquisitive boy, curious about how things worked. He wanted to understand the basis of things and the systems in which they were applied. Ultimately, his interest would be in communication, of sound, music, the spoken word, and how they, in proper combination, could improve modern society. Later, this would continue beyond John's business success and entrepreneurial fame, enabling him to encourage others to do as he has done, create and improve the mechanisms that support our lives. In 1982, John saw the bright future of communications in the cellular telephone industry. He joined forces with Sam Aziz, and together they launched a publicly traded company called American Cellular Network, AmCell. John's success grew, and with it his reputation not just for making wise business decisions, but for his consideration and generosity. John's desire to pay it forward is deeply rooted in his upbringing. His mother taught him to give to others, to help them achieve their dreams.
Well, I think without question, once that reputation gets out, that you're a giver and not just a taker, people are going to want to come to you and do business with you and get involved with you.
Well, I think one of John's main contributions in terms of success in business, he connects with people. You can't do good business with good people unless you can connect with them. And that usually comes from they recognize that he cares about them. They recognize that he is compassionate. They recognize great integrity. They can trust him.
Part of his giving is in an area that gives of itself, education. John took what he had learned and created and imbued it with the principle that guides his life. See what needs to be done and do it.
I think John, because of his background, his family in Vineland, working to make a living, and always had a goal. It sort of drove him to be what he ended up being today, a wealthy, philanthropic entrepreneur that was successful in almost every endeavor, giving other people an opportunity to take their opportunities enhanced by John Scarpa's dollars and move on. Maybe end up being another John Scarpa somewhere down the road. That's why he's an entrepreneur. That's why he's a philanthropic. He's empathetic. He likes to help other people. And through his efforts and through the people that helped him, he has continually given back ever since becoming successful.
Without education, you lack knowledge. Without knowledge, you lack confidence. Without confidence, you lack success. Bet on yourself, and you will accomplish goals that you did not even know were possible.
Without further ado, it is my honor, on behalf of the William J. Hughes Center for Public Policy, to call Mr. John F. Scarpa up to receive his Distinguished Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you. You know, the Bible says to be last is to be first. And tonight, as the last speaker, I have the opportunity to what Dale Carnegie once said, which was tell them what you're going to talk about. Tell them, and then tell them again what it meant. After listening to everything this evening, I get to tell that story, so about 3 minutes of my 4-minute speech I can end with, but it's such a great honor to be here this evening with all these distinguished recipients and each of you in this audience and for participating in this, and it's also to welcome Dr. Joe Bertolino, our new president of Stockton University. He follows in the giant footprints of Dr. Harvey Kesselman and all of the other presidents who have served this great institution since it was a college and now a university. Before I proceed with thanking others, I would like to start with, why am I here? That's a question that after listening to all of the success of everyone who has spoken tonight and has so graciously been awarded, and I still ask why, but then again, my whole life is a question of why. And I think why is a success of everybody with entrepreneurial spirit, with love in their hearts and faith in God. The Hughes Center of Public Policy was formed and exists today, beginning with Dr. Ed Salmon. And Congressman Hughes was a man that served in the Congress for 20 years. We've heard that. And then went on to be the ambassador to Panama. And each of those roles, what stood out beyond the man himself, and even more importantly, is what he represented. In short, what he brought to the table. He brought civility to everything he did. Bipartisanship, which was mentioned earlier this evening. It would certainly be a blessing today if bipartisanship could return, as you mentioned. And I think it's possible. Of course, his politics were important to him, but more important was the goal to work together for the common good. He had political grace, something we could certainly use more of today. In addition to that, he fostered civic engagement, giving back to the community, the nation, and a world in which he lived. Each of these attributes of Bill Hughes, his willingness to listen, his drive to get things done, his desire to give back, are things that I humbly believe in and try to lead with each and every day. I honestly believe that Bill would balk at the political environment that we are experiencing today. This polarization is not the way to get things done for the greater good. Democracy is a wonderful thing until you see it in action. Yet, it is still the greatest form of freedom known to man.
Another great statesman, President Abraham Lincoln, when he was running for the Senate in Illinois, gave a very important speech entitled, "A House Divided." In that speech, he did not take sides with the very pressing and daunting issues of slavery, but rather presented the blunt fact that a house divided cannot stand. As we all know, he went on to eventually become our 16th president and abolish slavery. So many of our countrymen and women have given the ultimate sacrifice of their lives to protect and preserve our freedoms. Did they do all that so that we could falter now? I don't think so. We must pass the torch given to us by President Lincoln and Ambassador Hughes and lead with civility, ingenuity, determination, and passion. To prepare our youth to take on their new world coming before each and every one of them. So out of deep respect for Bill Hughes, who he was, what he did, how he did it, and a deep appreciation for all who tirelessly worked to maintain the legacy of Ambassador Hughes and accomplish things of the common good, Dr. John Frugian, Executive Director of the Hughes Center for Public Policy, Richard Tolson, Advisory Board Chair, Dr. Ed Salmon, Advisory Board Emeritus Founding Chair, and each and every one of your outstanding members of its advisory board. Yes, I'm humbled to be here tonight to accept this Distinguished Lifetime Achievement Award. Even more so after listening to each of the other individuals who have received this award and told their stories of the challenges in their lives, the challenges that we all face. And to say one more thing about that is just how little every one of us really are in this world. You know, we all think of this great thing called ego. You know, I now have an ego wall in my office. Nobody comes in to look at it, but it's there. But also to be in the company and recognition of Justice Esther Salas, who I pray for you, Kevin J. O'Toole, Thomas P. Giblin, William T. Mullen, and Emily Kramer. Most important, I'd like to thank my wife, Jana, and my family who are all here tonight for having this opportunity to be with each and every one of you. And to ask all of you to remember this, that the United States of America is still the best damn place to live for all of us. We all come, as you saw in that video, from different parts of this world. And we all didn't come here with Ferraris and other motor cars and special education. We came here because we had to do this on our own. That's called entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship means this: if you have an idea that you want to do something, take that opportunity to do it and explore it, and the results will be there. Far too often, we all hear from too many people that, you know, geez, I wish I'd done this or done that and done this other thing. I wish I could have gone to Stockton University. I didn't have the skill sets to do this. I wish that, and by the way, that video was played specifically for Senator, for Bill Gormley, and I know he's here, and also for Joe Gingoli. two great people from the Southern Jersey area. It's an honor. It's a blessing. God bless America. God bless every one of you tonight. Thank you.
To our recipients, your awards to go on your ego walls will be boxed up and up here for you. We thank you for your willingness to participate in recognition of the legacy of Mr. William J. Hughes. On behalf of his family, on behalf of the center, we thank all of you, each and every one of you, for your hand in making this a reality. We look forward to seeing you in the future. And as Mr. Scarpa said, God bless you all. Thank you again. Please join us for coffee and dessert. Thank you.